Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach. I own Aspire Action Coach based here in the Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio area. Thrilled to have you join us. I think you're going to love this story of an immigrant in the trades, building a really outstanding business, but also making an impact in the community by lifting up trades in general across the community as well. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Craig Russell, who's the founder and owner of the English Contractor remodeling service business here in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And along with Craig, we have Jen Fiorenza, who's the director of pre-construction for the English Contractor as well. So again, to our viewers, we're thrilled to have you join us. Hope you hit that subscribe button so you can receive future messages like you're going to hear from Craig and Jen today. But without further ado, Craig Russell, take a second. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started in contracting and the English Contractor.
Afternoon, Todd. Thanks for inviting us on and everything else. Great to chat with you. So I kind of quickly, complete outline. Went in the British military when I was 16. When I came out, the girl at the time I was dating, her dad was a builder in London, and it was like, okay, you can come along and start at the bottom of the pile. So that's kind of what I did. I started, carrying wood, mixing plaster, doing all the hard stuff, getting to know what's going on. And then from there, obviously progressed up to, really and truthfully honing in and fine tuning trades. And then, approximately 14 years ago, I moved to the US and then obviously went back to my roots of construction and was like, okay, let's get it started.
So, Jen, maybe take a second, introduce yourself as well, and kind of your role within the English Contractor.
Thank you, Todd. I actually met Craig on the client side. He renovated my kitchen over a decade ago. And during the process, he said, "You're really organized. You should come and work for me," which I did have a background in project management. And I just newly moved to Cincinnati at the time. So I always say that my kitchen was just a big interview process. And so I've now been with Craig for about 10 years. So
okay, great. So maybe Craig, take a second, maybe tell us a little bit more about kind of who your ideal customers are, what type of projects you and the team focus on. And again, I encourage the viewers to go check out your website, theenglishcontractor.com, for the visuals. But Craig, tell us a little bit more.
So predominantly we kind of specialize in a lot of home remodel. Like, I always think it's one of the hardest things for people to do. Like, we do new construction of custom homes, but actually like more custom remodeling. You kind of, how do you make the old and the new work together? And I love that because that gives me the ability to problem solve. The amount of times you open up walls and you're like, oh, that doesn't look the best, but how are we going to make it look? So, and really truthfully, like our scope of work, we're very much, from a powder room or even changing somebody's front door up to building a 5,000-6,000 square foot home. I've got the ability, just the way, the business is set up, obviously having a lot of staff in house and everything else helps me kind of like put the right people on the right job at the right time. And it kind of makes things easier and better that way. Whenever you run into something, I always kind of say to my leads, come with me with solutions, don't come with problems. And, and I'm very much like, be a leader. I always want people to be a leader, no matter what they do within the business, be a leader.
All right. Maybe take a second, build upon that. What's the footprint, kind of, what part of the area? I know you're based in Cincinnati, but is it mostly the Cincinnati region or you reach further than that?
Yeah, so like predominantly we did the east side of Cincinnati. We'll look at projects pretty much anywhere. Like I kind of mentioned, like crew size, I've got 25, 26 guys and girls in-house. And as a residential, custom builder, remodeler, I looked at a lot of things to kind of give it the English influence. I'm very much, I make sure my people get like paid vacation. They get paid vacation. We also offer health insurance, which is really great for us because that gives us a good retention within the staff. And the other thing is with retaining staff, they know how we work, they know what our levels are, and we're getting continuity of quality. I know what the abilities of my people can do, and you let people kind of shine through and step up more, and kind of a lot of the time I always say you've got like a free page, a free script. You can like grow as much as you want with me, and I've had one or two people who actually have worked for me in the past and kind of got to a stage where they're like, hey, Craig, we're going to go and try this on our own. And I'm like, you know what, all the best. If you need anything, give me a call. Because, that's kind of a kudos to myself that I've kind of done a good job. A bit like raising your children and they go off to college and suddenly, you're like, wow, look, done a good job here. Like, so, it's not always about like, it's just creating the environment, the happy environment, the good environment. It's not all unicorns and roses all the time, as we know. But it's like when the shit hits the fan, you just dig in, smile, wave, and move on to the next one.
Okay. So go ahead, Jen.
I was gonna say, to his credit, he is very relational focused over transactional. So that is a very strong leadership skill, and it's fostered a lot of loyalty in our company. And many of our crew have been with the English Contractor since nearly the beginning, if not the beginning. So,
yeah, I've still got the original people who started with me.
So with that in mind, I mean, kind of tell us a little more right now. I mean, the trades, really my term, starved for talent, right? We've really underinvested as a country in the importance of the trades, and now I think paying the price. So how are you developing the talent there? Apprenticeships, you name it, to really not only the folks on your team, but to get more folks to come into the business.
Yeah. So the one kind of key thing is, when I get people kind of come to me and ask about jobs and everything else, and I don't have we don't use the word labourer. I'm a labourer, I can carry lumber, I've got equipment that can pick up lumber. I always say to people that you're going to be an apprentice and you're going to learn. And I will go out and I will purchase tools, what they need, whether it's saws, hand tools. So they've got that start because, they're kind of just starting to get on their feet, and to go out and spend, I don't know, $1,000 on tools, like that's hard for, some people, they've got to like kind of get in their place together. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. I always promote growth within the business. Like even Jen currently, she's actually at grad school. She's at Northwestern doing some construction
and design management.
Yeah.
So, and I've got an in-house designer, and, she obviously graduated with undergrad with design. And I'm also like pushing her to go get more qualifications, so it's like, it's that thing of having the youth and everybody around you, like, how do we continue our own personal development? And that's the key, because if you don't develop, then you stagnate. And we do that a lot, even with our suppliers and manufacturers. I'm very, very proactive with suppliers coming in and demonstrating their products, like not just me, but to the whole crew. Whether it's James Hardy coming in and explaining how to install their product, and I get everybody to do it. And people always say, well, why are you showing the electrician how to put it on? Why are you showing the plumber? You're like, well, when the electrician has to put the light on the side of the house, he knows this is how it's got to be flashed. This is how it's got to be done. And it gives everybody a sense of learning, because sometimes people don't want to get out of that comfortable zone. So you kind of, a lot of places like Schluter, like they've come on and came to our shop and did a whole day's training with all their systems. And we have everybody doing it, everybody, office staff, everybody, because what it creates is that you understand how the product works, you understand what's happening. It's kind of great to go in and talk to a client and they're like, yeah, we use that Schluter stuff, that orange stuff. And then the client suddenly gets on a website and they're like, well, can we do this? Can we do that? You know, you're meant to be the knowledge there. So, I always say it's like going to the doctor and asking the doctor something, and they're kind of like, oh, well, I don't really know. You're like, well, you're the professional. That's what I trust. So you kind of give that professional manner and everything else. So that's kind of where I am with the development of the trades all the way through with the development of my staff.
Okay. And I think before we hit record here, you shared just a little bit of the work you're doing with some of the local schools and that. Can you tell us a little bit more how you're kind of reaching back there?
Yeah, so I obviously I'm very proactive with, on multiple different levels that we're currently doing. I actually I support a lot of times with University of Cincinnati from the DAP program having interns, and whether it's a designer or an architect, they come and intern with us, so they get to know, as I would say, what's happening behind the walls. How do things go together? And I'm also lucky enough that I've been invited down. Both me and Jen have been down to the DAP program, and we get to review, the projects, what the students are doing, and it's not that we're critiquing them, but we're kind of looking at them, talking to them, and possibly like getting them to think in a different thought process, rather than sometimes it is the design process. It's okay, how's this thing going to construct together? How's it going to come together? What materials are we going to use? We went to the National Kitchen and Builder Show out in Vegas 2 years ago, and I took one of the students from the DAP program with us, and also other members of our crew, to go out there for them to just experience what's happening on the market, what products are there. Just because it's sometimes you only know what you know. And if you go to the same store and they sell the same stuff, you're never going to know what other things are available on the market. And it's like being hungry for that information.
Okay.
And then even within our community, we are always advocating kind of to bridge the trade gap. So supportive, obviously, organizationally, also regionally, we are often parts of programs that are building awareness, and then even nationally, we are working on building some programs and initiatives, well, specifically with the National Kitchen and Bath Association too. So they have a trades program that they're developing, and they've invited us to help develop it with them.
Great, outstanding. So you're roughly 12 years or so in since you founded the business. You've had significant growth. You got a really good sized team. So what have been some of the keys to that growth?
I think like anything, I look at it as it's a bit like the same thing as farming. You got to prep the land, sow the seed, nurture it, grow the crops. Then you've got to re-prep this, and it's not that you don't bite off more than you can chew, but you've also got to push the boundaries for growth. So like if your first year you're doing a 1 acre field, next year can you do a 2 acre field? You might have to work a little bit harder. Then year 3 you're doing a 5 acre field. Before you get to year 10, and you're like, no, I'm doing 150 acres. Okay, and also realizing where to say, okay, let's just pause here and plateau, because a lot of times you see people who want a rapid growth, and it's having good strong foundations. People like Jen or Martin, like Jen she's the rock, she's solid, she's and other members of my team, and it's just kind of identifying that where you want to drive things and where do you want to go and what do you want to do. But it's kind of like, and also still being fun and enjoying it. Sometimes you can get overwhelmed in business that it's all work and no play. And, we go through periods where it's like we're all hands on deck, but then you kind of got to pump the brakes and be like, okay, everybody, we're having Friday off and we're all going to Keeneland. That's what happens with us, because it gives everybody that bonding experience, and it gives us that mental decompression, and we shoot the shit with each other and have a laugh, and so that's it's kind of, I always look at it that you're creating a team, you're creating a family, and in any family dynamic, families fall out, families quabble, families argument, but it's how you kind of like pull everybody together, clip them around the ear, and you're like, what do you want to do? Let's get it sorted out. So that's it. I just kind of always look at things, I guess, just from experiences within the UK of how businesses are. It's not always work, work, work. There's got to be elements of pleasure.
Okay. Love that. And maybe, hey, this one's maybe more for Jen. I'm curious, what marketing strategies have been the most impactful for the business?
I would say that we have a few. So one, obviously, we have the obvious, the Instagrams, the social medias and such. But I think one of the strongest marketing plans is actually our own like personal development and building trust with clients from the start, and remembering that really our business isn't just construction; it's actually relationships.
So maybe walk through how you do that. Tell me a little more. Yeah.
So, I mean, our start, so a lot of our projects actually come from architects, but sometimes people contact us directly, whether they've been referred or they've heard about us. And I mean, high level, we set up a meeting and we go and discuss projects with people. And we always say it's about building rapport. And there's a lot of variables in selecting the correct contractor. We're coming with, we can talk about our quality and we can show them the quality, but it's also like how people will interact with us throughout the process.
Okay.
And so really from there, then, we have the project or we don't.
Yeah, there you go.
And,
so that foundation of trust you build through those relationships, right? Especially with folks who end up being really good referral partners, right?
Yes. We were lucky enough to do a HGTV like project for them in Cincinnati, and they were really great. And obviously from that, we did some of our own kind of video stuff. But I'm very, I kind of, whenever we do meet clients, it's me and Jen that basically meet clients for the first time. It's that giving them that, we know that you're going to spend your own personal money. We know that. And you've got to build that element of confidence with them, that you're not just like, hey, write me the check and I'll get the job done. And I always say to clients, like, look, if there's any question, ask it, because there's never a silly question in construction, because that's what my speciality, that's what we do, that's our speciality. If we don't know it, we're going to find out for you. I always tell them that pretty much anything's possible, because they build a space station in space, just the dollar amount attached to it. And also, I want clients to feel comfortable. If, it's like, hey, Craig, can you ask the guys to close the gate? Let's live in the real world. Sometimes we tell them and they forget to close the gate. And then it's like I prefer clients to have the ability and comfortable to address me or Jen and say, hey, can you ask the guys to close the gate? Okay, I'll ask them for the third time. I don't want that 6-page email on a Sunday afternoon where they've suddenly had enough because they've tripped over a bucket of drywall mud. Like, just tell me. I will go out my way. I will, come over and shut the gate for you. It's not a problem. Just build that entity, that rapport, that feeling of, okay, great, because it actually works in the end for a better result and a better project, that you don't have this us-them scenario. No. You have this team scenario, and you've got to have clients as part of your team. Like, ultimately, they're the team leaders. They're the people who are driving your project because it's their project, and you have to listen to them. There's no point... there's no point saying, no, I'm going to paint this wall blue because I don't like the colour pink you picked. Guess what? It's not your home. It's their home. And there may be significance. They may say, actually, that pink was the most favourite colour that my mum liked. And you're like, oh, okay. Listen to people. Don't listen. Listen, ask the questions, and just make people feel comfortable with you. Like, we're very much... Like I said, it's the family base. And even having that many people on my team, it's good because clients get to know who people are, and they'll be like, yeah, we work with Darryl, we work with Jesse, we work with Jeremy, we work with these people. And we've had clients who on a Friday will like, oh yeah, I'm going to cook the guys dinner, and I'm like, stop, don't feed the animals. Like, if you've got that stray cat that keeps coming to your door, you will never get rid of him. Like, it's like, we're trying to get this project done. Just stop feeding the animals.
So, Greg, you mentioned a few minutes ago, hey, it's not always roses and unicorns when you lead a business. So maybe step back in time. What was a past challenge that you had that you overcame, and what did you learn from that?
Well, as with anything, and Jen, me and Jen are always, we do what we call post-mortem jobs. Like, obviously Jen does all estimating, meeting clients, getting all the information. But we post-mortem jobs, but we learn from every job.
We do.
We learn from every job, and we evolve. We're continuously evolving and changing with things. Because if you're not prepared to do that, you're not moving forward. Why do car manufacturers introduce new models every few years? It's because they're evolving. Why do we get new phones every 2 or 3 years? It's because we're evolving, and we need to continue to evolve and listen. And it's listening to clients, and also, having the knowledge of what products are around to service your clients' needs.
Well, and it's also to remember that residential construction is an emotional field. We are in people's homes, and we always try to honor that. Again, we work as a family, and we're in homes of families, and that's very, very personal for people. So we really try to emphasize that they are part, as Craig said, part of the team, and good communication. We want them to feel that they own the project, that and they have control, because really, we're building something that's going to likely outlast us, in quality and time, and it's a place where roots and family memories will be created. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're in people's homes.
Yeah, it's their home. Yeah.
Legacies. And and also, when you do run into problems, don't run away from them. Go head on and be truthful with them. If you drop the ball, if you've screwed up, if you put the wrong door somewhere and cut it, it's part of it. You've got to own it. You've got to deal with it, and you've got to be like, you know what, it's on me. I'll get it took care of.
Okay. So I'm curious, what's a current challenge that you guys have ahead of you that you're trying to solve for here in 2025?
Go, Jen.
Well, I think that this isn't really, it's kind of an industry challenge. It's just innovations, AI, how do we start working, smarter, not harder, with some of the innovations and technologies that we'll start to see. So especially in a small business, and construction kind of lags behind. It's interesting to see kind of where the industry is shifting that way. And it does go back still to, professional development and kind of staying on the ball, because really those things will create efficiencies and, better productivity in the long run. So we're always, trying to stay aware of being on the forefront, and, and then of course, just, every day, just, we always want to make sure that, and again, to Craig's point, that we're always kind of bettering our process, and that we're learning from our process. So it's not so much a challenge as much as it's a personal, continual, professional challenge.
Yeah, it's a mindset and a commitment. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That's good.
That's kind of, it's just the journey of all kinds of things, and like I said, when you do run into problems, it's number one, identify the problem, come with 1 or 2 or 3 solutions, you present them to the homeowner, and you're like, let's rock and roll, it's really not rocket science to do the job. It's as Jen says earlier, it's not just about construction. It's you're in people's homes, and they can only take so much sometimes of living in a basement while you're remodeling their kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, it's always the same cycle. You start out very, very excited, and then you get construction fatigue, and then it's finished and you love it again.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, that's for sure. So again, also, 12 plus years in, what's your dream for the future vision for the business?
We just kind of continue to grow and everything else, and I've got a couple of kids, whether they want to kind of get into the industry and everything else. I'm always open-minded because, like obviously like yourselves inviting me on, like it, and Jen, it's like just be open-minded with things. You never know. Like it's fate takes you in different places. That's why I'm sitting here in the US, just because of I went one day to Oktoberfest in Germany, and kind of moved along, and the rest is history.
So as we get close to wrapping up here, Craig and Jen, how would you, summarize your keys to success? We have a lot of our viewers tend to be a little bit newer in their entrepreneurial journey. So, what do you wish you knew then that you know now that you would share with
I
them?
may
Yeah,
jump in.
yeah.
I am a huge supporter of having a mentor. So I think that it's a very important part of personal development. I actually credit Craig to being one of my mentors as far as um, seeing that I could have a important role in this built environment, and again, to his point, he's always fostered in all of his employees opportunities for personal and professional development, hence graduate school. So and I, even in that process, I have developed mentors as well. And I think that, I'm, I'm in my 50s and I still have mentors. So I think it's really important no matter what age you are, but especially when you're younger, to have people kind of, uh, like explain and encourage and foster development is a wonderful thing. And so we not only have it within our own staff, but we also, again, try to do that out into the community with youth and inspiring them to join the trades.
Yeah. So not only to have your own personal mentors, no matter what stage of your career, but also to be a mentor to others as well, to help others come up. So, Craig, anything else you'd add as keys to success?
Yeah, kind of just on the back of that is, not all business is good business. Think of that, especially with people starting out. And it's, don't beat yourself up when you don't win a job, because sometimes like it's just not, it's just the way it is. You can kind of, you can bet on a football team or a soccer team result and it doesn't go your way, but yeah, you know what? Get up, brush yourself off and move on. Like live for the future, not for the past. And I'm a firm believer it's not about, what somebody once said to me, do you want to earn $10 every week, or do you just want to earn that $100 today? And kind of when you take a step back and it's like, do you know what? Okay, that $10 is going to take me 10 weeks to get there. But if I have that $100 today, when's the next day coming? When do I get that next 100? If you can continue to just be softly, small, plod along, you're earning that $10 each week. By the time of a year done, you've earned more than that $100 in a day. So, it's just kind of setting those small precedents and goals for yourself, that it's not always about the big win. It's small wins, and like anything, you get the occasional where you're like, oh yeah, I messed that door up and that was a bit of a loss. You just got to kind of stand on your own 2 feet and brush it up and self-evaluate.
Those continual small wins build into something tremendous, right? Great. So as we wrap up here, what are the best ways for folks to learn more about the English Contractor and to follow and stay connected with you?
I would say find us on social media, The English Contractor. We also have a website where you can actually see our HGTV project that we did as well. And Facebook, uh,
That's it. Yeah.
LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah. English
Okay.
Contractor.
Yes.
And and we're available for anything.
Yes. And that's one thing we have found that, you know, I think one thing that's really great when you're building relationships is that, we give away a lot of knowledge. And I think that's really important to do. Like even if we know we're not taking a project, or that, or maybe there's certain circumstances, we still actually prepare people for their projects because we just think that it's just good overall business. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big disruption in their lives for the family, right? So the more prepared they are, the more successful you're going to be. Just makes sense. Yeah. So as we wrap up here today, I'm curious for both of you, what are you inspired by today?
Oh, wow. Um, we're always kind of a family first, mentality. So I'm always, inspired by like my own children, and, they're going out into the world now. So that's incredible. And I um, am inspired just by, uh, the learning experience that I'm in right now. I told Craig I'm actually like, once I graduate, it's like, it's just such an incredible environment to return to school. And I think that's another thing. You're never too old to go back to school.
Cool.
So, yeah, just the world around us. I know that seems like such a oversimplified answer, but every day is a gift.
Yeah. So, very true. Craig, how about yourself?
I think my biggest inspiration really is just of people of the younger generation of just growing and learning and asking questions, and kind of, as we know that some people, these new terminologies of, this is a Gen Z, this is Gen X, this is like, just get out there and sometimes play in the woods and build a campsite, or get off your phone and just like try and open doors for people like that, just to give them the hands-on, it's just random life skills, just kind of like, that's what inspires me, that I've got some young members of the team, and they're able to go along and they go home, and and the grandma says, oh look, my door lock's loose, suddenly they're going to get a screwdriver from the car and fix it, and grandma's like, wow, I've been trying to get that done. You're like, it's just that one step forward that they've learned something, and it's just, sometimes people are just so afraid to, can I change a light bulb? Of course you can. Like, just get online, read about it, and just keep pushing yourself. Just keep pushing the envelope. You
Pushing it.
know,
All right.
if use other people or just inspire yourself.
So, well, I love it. Great messages from both of you there. So, Craig, Jen, thank you so much for taking the time out to share your personal stories as well as the English contractor story with us today.
Thank you for
No
having
problem. We
us.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Uh, Yeah. And to our viewers, we're thrilled to have you join us. I hope you took excellent notes here. You can rewind, go back, catch a few points here. Just great growth as a business over the last 12 years. You see their focus on their team and mentoring others in the community, and to bring more into the organization as well. So again, to our viewers, we encourage you to hit the like button. That helps share the message, but also hit subscribe so you can receive future messages from other inspiring entrepreneurs, like you heard from Craig and Jen here today. And with that, we thank you so much. Have a terrific day.